Beneath the quiet countryside of Europe, hidden beneath ordinary fields and unsuspecting forests, a shadowy labyrinth lay carved into the earth. A network of tunnels so meticulously built that even the most vigilant patrols never suspected its existence. These underground passages were not mere holes in the ground. They were lifelines, escape routes, and instruments of survival, designed by men trained in secrecy and cunning. The faint scent of damp soil clung to the walls, a constant reminder that this was a world apart from the sunlit fields above. Every inch of these tunnels echoed with muffled footsteps, whispered orders, and the relentless rhythm of human labor, silent yet potent in purpose. The idea of these tunnels originated from necessity. Nazi soldiers, anticipating the eventual advance of enemy forces, recognized that conventional fortifications would not suffice. Above ground, the world had become perilous, exposed to reconnaissance planes, patrols, and spies. But underground, movement could be shielded, plans executed in secrecy, and soldiers hidden from sight. Each tunnel represented a calculated gamble, a combination of engineering skill, patience, and unspoken understanding that a single mistake could be fatal. Digging these tunnels was a painstaking, exhausting process. The tools were basic, shovels, pickaxes, and sometimes improvised instruments, but the precision required was extraordinary. Soldiers worked in shifts, often under the cover of darkness, carefully listening for distant patrols or the hum of engines above. Soil had to be discreetly removed, often spread thinly across fields or hidden in barns, lest someone notice the telltale signs of excavation. Ventilation shafts, cleverly camouflaged with soil, leaves, or wood, were essential. Without them, men risked suffocation in the stale air. Even a small lapse in planning could result in collapse, injury, or exposure. The tunnels themselves were a marvel of ingenuity. Many began in ordinary structures, beneath the floors of abandoned houses, barns, or cellars. Others burrowed under forests, meadows, and even graveyards, utilizing the landscape to mask their presence. Walls were reinforced with salvaged wood, metal, or stone. Small alcoves were incorporated to store supplies, rations, water containers, and even rudimentary cots where soldiers could rest while underground. Every bend and turn was meticulously mapped in the minds of the builders. Secret exits were designed to surface far from enemy observation. Some tunnels stretched for hundreds of meters, winding like hidden veins beneath villages and battlefields alike. Life inside these tunnels was harsh. Darkness enveloped the soldiers, forcing them to rely on memory and touch to navigate. The air was thick and damp, often carrying the scent of mold and the faint tang of sweat. Silence was imperative. Even the smallest noise could alert enemy patrols above or compromise the secrecy of the network. Movements were deliberate and slow, with men stooped or crawling in the narrow corridors. Despite the harsh conditions, there was a psychological comfort. Within the tunnels, there was control, a sense of agency in a world above ground that had become chaotic and unpredictable. Testing these underground passages was a nerve-wracking ordeal. Small groups would move cautiously through narrow corridors, emerging hours later in fields, forests, or even areas held by opposing forces. Each successful passage validated the painstaking labor and risk undertaken. Failures, whether due to collapse, miscalculation, or discovery, were lessons in caution and adaptation. Over time, tunnels evolved, expanding in complexity with hidden junctions, false passages, and multiple exits designed to confuse pursuers. The tunnels also had a social dimension. Soldiers depended on one another for survival and secrecy. Trust was absolute. One careless word or misstep could compromise the entire network. Within these subterranean passages, camaraderie formed under pressure. Conversations, when allowed, were whispered and cautious, yet they bonded men in ways that the harsh conditions above ground rarely permitted. Some soldiers even left cryptic markings or signs in hidden corners, messages meant only for those initiated into the secret. Civilian knowledge of the tunnels was scarce. Farmers and villagers sometimes noticed subtle signs, displaced soil, unusual shadows, or discarded wood. Yet most were unaware of the elaborate structures beneath their feet. The secrecy was maintained not only by design but by fear and obedience, speaking of what they suspected could result in punishment or worse. Over time, the tunnels became almost mythical, whispered about in hushed tones but rarely witnessed. The strategic purpose of these tunnels was clear. They allowed for the movement of troops, weapons, and supplies unseen. They provided escape routes for officers, offered concealment during air raids, and enabled soldiers to reposition without exposing themselves to enemy observation. In several documented cases, entire units vanished through underground passages, appearing miles away in locations previously thought unreachable. The tunnels were more than shelters, they were instruments of tactical advantage. Yet building and maintaining them was fraught with peril. Soil collapses, flooding, and poor air circulation posed constant threats. Soldiers risked infection, exhaustion, and disorientation in the winding corridors. Many kept improvised journals, sketches, or maps in secret, documenting the construction and layout for future use. These documents, when discovered after the war, provided historians with some of the first concrete evidence of the tunnel's existence and scope. The psychological impact of the tunnels on those who used them cannot be overstated. Beneath the earth, the ordinary rules of fear and vulnerability shifted. Soldiers felt a rare sense of control and empowerment, navigating a domain of their own making. Each passage taken, each hidden exit reached, reinforced a sense of resilience. The tunnels were not just physical constructs. They were metaphors for survival, ingenuity, and the human drive to endure under extreme conditions. Stories of these underground networks surfaced sporadically in memoirs and post-war interviews. Veterans recounted the claustrophobic passages, the careful rituals of digging, and the exhilaration of emerging undetected. Civilians who discovered hidden entrances later marveled at the engineering and foresight required to construct such secretive networks. These narratives, often dramatic and filled with tension, painted a vivid picture of ingenuity and determination amid the chaos of war. As the Allies advanced, many tunnels were abandoned, sealed, or collapsed. Some were discovered decades later, revealing intricate layouts, ventilation shafts, and storage niches. Archaeologists and historians have since explored portions of these networks, uncovering artifacts, tools, and remnants of wartime strategy. Each find reinforces the extraordinary lengths to which soldiers went to secure mobility, concealment, and survival. These tunnels, hidden beneath familiar landscapes, serve as silent witnesses to the complex interplay of strategy, desperation, and human ingenuity. They remind us that war is not only fought on open fields, but also in shadowed corridors, where innovation and risk define outcomes as much as battles above ground. The secret passages were a testament to the resourcefulness and determination of those who built them. A labyrinth of survival, a hidden world beneath a world, and a story waiting to be unearthed by those willing to look beyond the surface. As the war progressed, the construction of tunnels evolved from experimental undertakings into precise, highly organized operations. Soldiers who had initially dug haphazard passages now implemented complex planning, studying soil types, topography, and enemy movement. Maps were sketched in secret, often in the dark with candlelight, showing the twists, turns, and hidden exits of each subterranean labyrinth. Some tunnels extended for hundreds of meters, weaving beneath forests, farms, and even small villages, always carefully disguised to avoid detection from above. The tunnels were more than escape routes, they were logistical arteries. Supplies, weapons, and communications could move undetected. Soldiers stored canned food, water, medical kits, and ammunition in hidden niches, carefully rationing each item. Some tunnels included branching chambers where troops could rest, change clothes, or meet for brief planning sessions. Every construction detail reflected an understanding that secrecy and efficiency were intertwined. A poorly ventilated tunnel or a weak support beam could spell disaster, yet the builders maintained remarkable discipline and foresight. Engineering ingenuity was evident in the design of ventilation shafts. These shafts were disguised in clever ways, hidden under piles of earth, camouflaged with vegetation, or integrated into cellar chimneys of abandoned buildings. Airflow was crucial. Without it, soldiers risked fainting or long-term health issues. Water management was another challenge. Underground passages often intersected with natural water tables or rain runoff. Improvised drainage systems, cleverly concealed channels, and small sump pits prevented flooding and maintained usability, even during heavy rains. Construction often demanded extreme secrecy and coordination. Soldiers worked in rotations so that no single group spent too long underground at once, reducing the risk of collapse from fatigue. Noise was a constant concern. The rhythmic scraping of tools on earth had to be muffled, often by working beneath existing structures or using sand and straw to absorb vibrations. Above ground, decoys and distractions were sometimes employed, a routine patrol and ordinary barn repair, to conceal excavation sounds. Every detail mattered, for discovery could result in capture, interrogation, or death. Some tunnels incorporated extraordinary ingenuity. Hidden doors were disguised as walls, furniture, or storage crates. False passages misled intruders, creating dead ends or looping corridors that concealed the true exit. Soldiers sometimes left markers, tiny scratches, notches, or pieces of cloth, to indicate direction, visible only to those who knew the code. These secretive measures allowed the tunnels to serve multiple functions: escape routes, storage areas, and protected movement corridors. Life inside these passages was grueling. Narrow corridors forced soldiers to stoop or crawl, and darkness enveloped them completely, broken only by flickering lanterns or candles. The air was damp and heavy, filled with the scent of soil, sweat, and the occasional moldy patch. Hours could pass with nothing but the sound of breathing, the scrape of tools, or distant dripping water. Despite the harsh conditions, there was a sense of purpose. Each movement underground was a small assertion of control in a world above ground dominated by chaos, violence, and uncertainty. Daring escapes highlighted the tunnel's strategic value. Soldiers used them to bypass enemy checkpoints, move between occupied and contested zones, and evade capture. In one documented case, a small unit navigated a labyrinth of passages for over 3 hours, emerging miles away from their original location, unseen and unchallenged. The psychological impact was profound. The tunnels were both a physical and symbolic refuge. For soldiers, the ability to vanish and reappear in a safe location reinforced morale, offered hope, and strengthened the collective resolve of those still fighting. The tunnels also had a social dimension that is often overlooked. Within their shadowed confines, camaraderie was forged under pressure. Small teams coordinated movements, shared resources, and relied on one another for survival. Trust was absolute, for a single misstep could compromise the entire network. Some soldiers even created secret compartments for letters, photographs, or personal mementos, preserving fragments of normalcy amidst the war's disruption. These small gestures nurtured morale and reinforced bonds that endured long after the tunnels fell silent. Civilians occasionally stumbled upon evidence of underground activity, though rarely did they grasp the full scope. Loose soil, subtle depressions, or oddly placed timber might hint at hidden passages. Some farmers unknowingly used tunnel entrances to store tools or hay, oblivious to the intricate labyrinth beneath. The secrecy of these tunnels relied not only on military discipline but also on silence, fear, and the careful management of information. Whispers circulated, but few dared confirm what they suspected. The construction of tunnels varied depending on geography and purpose. In sandy soils, walls required extensive timber reinforcement to prevent collapse. Rocky terrain demanded slow chiseling and careful mapping to avoid dangerous shifts. In forests, tunnels had to navigate root systems, water drainage, and stability, often resulting in twisting, narrow corridors that required skillful navigation. Despite these obstacles, ingenuity and determination ensured that tunnels were functional, safe, and, above all, concealed. Not all tunnels were successful. Some collapsed due to miscalculations, poor ventilation, or unexpected water ingress. Others were discovered, either by patrols, reconnaissance planes, or accidental civilian encounters. These failures were costly, sometimes fatal, yet the knowledge gained informed subsequent designs. Soldiers learned to adapt, reinforcing weak points, improving ventilation, and expanding escape options. Each setback contributed to a growing understanding of subterranean engineering under wartime conditions. Documentation was critical but secretive. Maps, sketches, and notes were created in hidden corners or memorized for accuracy. Some soldiers marked tunnels in code, leaving symbols or notches readable only by those in the know. These records ensured that even if a passage collapsed or a team was lost, the knowledge could persist. After the war, these documents became invaluable to historians, revealing the sophistication and scale of the tunnel networks. The tunnel's impact extended beyond physical survival. They offered a psychological refuge, a domain where soldiers could exercise control and maintain agency. While the world above was chaotic and dangerous, the underground labyrinths allowed moments of planning, preparation, and quiet reflection. Within these corridors, fear was present but managed. Danger was acknowledged but mitigated through design, coordination, and discipline. In this shadowed world, ingenuity and human perseverance became as important as skill with a weapon. As Allied forces advanced, many tunnels were abandoned, sealed, or forgotten beneath fields and forests. Yet the legacy persisted. Decades later, excavations revealed remarkable engineering, concealed exits, and tools left behind, evidence of meticulous planning and extraordinary determination. These tunnels became silent testimonies to human resourcefulness, offering insights into how soldiers navigated both the physical and psychological challenges of war. Even today, the secret tunnels stand as reminders of the extremes humans will pursue in the name of survival. They reflect strategic thinking, adaptability, and resilience under pressure. Each passage, alcove, and hidden exit tells a story of courage, fear, and ingenuity, offering a unique perspective on wartime experience that cannot be captured solely through conventional battles or historical documents. In many ways, these tunnels illustrate a fundamental truth about conflict. Survival often depends as much on creativity and stealth as it does on force or numbers. They reveal the hidden side of war, the labor, planning, and human determination that occurs out of sight, beneath the ground, and beyond immediate recognition. And though years have passed, the tunnels continue to fascinate historians, archaeologists, and storytellers alike, preserving a narrative of ingenuity that rises from the shadows of history. Among the most fascinating aspects of these underground networks were the documented tunnels that saw actual action. Those labyrinths where daring escapes, covert movements, and tense encounters unfolded. One of the most notable examples lay beneath a small village in northern France, where a network of tunnels stretched for over 400 meters, snaking beneath fields and forests. Constructed with careful attention to concealment, these passages included ventilation shafts disguised as old wells, false exits hidden under piles of leaves, and branching corridors designed to mislead anyone who might stumble upon them. Soldiers using these tunnels relied on memory, often rehearsing routes in secret to avoid mistakes. Unlike above-ground maneuvers, where visibility could guide navigation, underground travel demanded acute spatial awareness and a steady sense of direction. Some passages were barely tall enough for a man to stand, forcing soldiers to move stooped or even crawl for extended stretches. The walls, reinforced with timber and sometimes metal, creaked under pressure, adding to the constant tension. A single misstep could cause collapse, entrapment, or the exposure of the entire network. One particularly daring escape involved a small detachment of soldiers retreating from a village under threat of Allied occupation. Using a tunnel that had been dug months earlier, they navigated winding passages for hours, emerging far from patrols and checkpoints. Their journey required complete silence, coordination, and trust. Any sound, any hesitation could have led to discovery. The psychological strain was immense. Men pushed their endurance to the limit, relying on memory, instinct, and the faint glow of lanterns to reach safety. These tunnels were not only escape routes, they were instruments of strategy. In some instances, soldiers used them to transport critical messages, weapons, or equipment without detection. Imagine a narrow corridor, just wide enough for a soldier to pass, lined with crates containing ammunition or medical supplies, stretching beneath farmland where cows grazed unsuspectingly above. The contrast between the serene surface world and the high-stakes activity below was stark, emphasizing both ingenuity and the constant threat that shaped underground operations. Ventilation was a persistent concern. Some tunnels had shafts cleverly camouflaged in the floors of barns or behind stacks of hay. Others used rudimentary air channels carved into walls to allow fresh air to circulate, preventing suffocation during prolonged use. Water management was equally critical. Rainwater infiltration or underground streams could flood passages, creating dangerous conditions. Soldiers learned to build small drainage channels and sump pits, demonstrating an extraordinary level of improvisation and engineering under pressure. In Germany, a series of tunnels constructed near a military base provided both concealment and mobility for officers. These passages included hidden exits leading into nearby forests, allowing troops to evade capture or reorganize without encountering enemy checkpoints. Some tunnels were equipped with hidden alcoves where soldiers could rest, store supplies, or even sleep briefly. Though cramped and uncomfortable, these spaces offered a psychological reprieve from the chaos above ground, reinforcing morale and enabling careful planning. The secrecy of these tunnels was paramount. Discovery could mean imprisonment, interrogation, or worse. Soldiers devised intricate methods to prevent detection. Loose soil was dispersed in inconspicuous areas, planks and foliage disguised entrances, and false walls misled anyone curious enough to investigate. Some tunnels even incorporated dead ends and looping corridors designed to confuse intruders. Codes and subtle markers guided trusted soldiers, ensuring only those initiated could navigate successfully. Civilians occasionally played unintended roles in preserving secrecy. Farmers might unknowingly conceal tunnel entrances with hay or soil, while villagers' routines provided a cover for construction noise. In rare instances, civilians observed unusual activity and shared suspicions, but fear of retribution or disbelief kept most silent. The result was a network largely insulated from accidental discovery, maintained through discipline, secrecy, and the natural camouflage of the landscape. Escape attempts were not without risk. In some tunnels, structural weaknesses caused collapses that trapped soldiers for hours or even days. Flooded sections could lead to hypothermia or drowning, while lack of oxygen created fainting risks. Yet the tunnel's benefits often outweighed these dangers. Each successful passage reinforced trust in the system, validated the painstaking labor invested, and provided soldiers with a sense of mastery over their precarious circumstances. One particularly remarkable story comes from a network beneath a Belgian village. Soldiers discovered an existing drainage system and expanded it into a complex maze of tunnels. During an Allied advance, a small group of officers used these passages to move critical intelligence documents and personnel without detection. Their journey involved crawling through mud, wading through shallow water, and negotiating twists and turns that tested both endurance and memory. Upon reaching safety, the success of the operation underscored the strategic and psychological value of these underground routes. The construction of these tunnels required ingenuity in problem-solving and resource management. Wood for support beams and ventilation shafts was often salvaged from nearby abandoned buildings or broken furniture. Tools were improvised when necessary, sometimes fashioned from scrap metal or repurposed farm implements. Even the soil removed during excavation had to be concealed, scattered carefully across fields, or hidden in haylofts. The meticulousness of these operations highlights the extraordinary dedication and discipline of those involved. Living conditions underground were austere. Soldiers faced darkness, dampness, and constant confinement. Yet within these hardships, ingenuity flourished. Small niches held personal belongings, letters from loved ones, or rations carefully rationed to sustain long periods underground. The presence of these small comforts provided psychological support, reminding soldiers of life beyond the tunnels and reinforcing resilience amidst adversity. The psychological dimension extended beyond survival. The tunnels allowed soldiers to maintain a sense of control in an unpredictable world. In the underground labyrinth, orders were followed, movement was deliberate, and risk was calculated. This contrasted sharply with the chaos above ground, where patrols, air raids, and advancing enemy forces created constant uncertainty. The tunnels offered an environment where skill, planning, and discipline could prevail over luck, instilling confidence and reinforcing morale. Over time, some tunnels were adapted for multiple purposes. Certain passages included storage areas for intelligence documents, communication equipment, or small medical supplies. Others served as training grounds, allowing soldiers to rehearse maneuvers or coordinate movements discreetly. The adaptability of these spaces demonstrated both foresight and the practical application of engineering under extreme conditions. When the war ended, many tunnels were sealed, collapsed, or abandoned, leaving only faint traces beneath villages and fields. Decades later, historians and archaeologists rediscovered portions of these networks, uncovering remarkable engineering and evidence of meticulous planning. Artifacts such as tools, remnants of ventilation systems, and even personal items provided insight into the daily challenges and ingenuity of those who built and used the tunnels. The legacy of these tunnels extends beyond physical remnants. They stand as monuments to human adaptability, resourcefulness, and the will to survive under extreme pressure. Each passage represents a story of courage, discipline, and creativity, revealing the lengths individuals will go to preserve life, maintain agency, and protect comrades in the face of adversity. Ultimately, the secret tunnels were more than wartime constructions. They were symbols of resilience. They demonstrate how careful planning, ingenuity, and trust can create life-saving opportunities, even in the harshest environments. The stories of soldiers who built and navigated these labyrinths remain a testament to the quiet heroism that often unfolds beneath the surface, hidden from view but no less significant in shaping the course of history. Among the most gripping accounts of tunnel use during World War II are the daring escape attempts that tested both physical endurance and psychological resilience. Soldiers navigating these passages faced claustrophobic darkness, damp conditions, and the constant fear of discovery. Yet these tunnels provided opportunities for extraordinary acts of courage, coordination, and ingenuity, turning underground corridors into stages for survival dramas that unfolded far from the eyes of enemy forces. One particularly remarkable escape took place beneath a village near the Belgian-German border. A small unit of soldiers, cornered by advancing Allied troops, had only the labyrinthine tunnels beneath their feet as a path to safety. Each soldier moved silently, memorizing the sequence of turns and false passages in near-total darkness. The air was thick with dust and humidity, making breathing laborious. Every sound, the scrape of a boot against wood, the faint drip of water, threatened to reveal their presence. Yet, with unwavering focus, the group navigated nearly half a kilometer underground, emerging miles away from the enemy and completely undetected. These operations demanded meticulous planning. Escape routes were often rehearsed in shifts to ensure familiarity. Soldiers memorized junctions, landmarks within the tunnels, and hidden exits. In some cases, small markers were discreetly placed along walls or ceilings, subtle scratches, notches, or faint chalk symbols that guided only those who knew the code. A single misinterpretation could lead to a dead end, entrapment, or exposure, making memory and attention to detail crucial for survival. Tunnels were also used to move vital intelligence or supplies. In northern France, officers employed hidden corridors to transport maps, orders, and critical documents under the watchful eyes of occupying forces. The narrow passages often required crawling on hands and knees or stooping for extended stretches. Water seeped through the ceilings in some areas, creating small puddles, while other sections were so constricted that only one person could pass at a time. Despite these challenges, the tunnel's strategic value was undeniable, allowing critical operations to continue even under severe threat. The human stories embedded within these tunnels are equally compelling. Soldiers often left behind small personal items, letters, photographs, or scraps of cloth, that reminded them of life beyond the confines of war. These small acts of preservation provided comfort, a psychological anchor amid the darkness and uncertainty. Some soldiers kept hidden diaries, meticulously recording routes, ventilation shafts, and exit points. These documents, often discovered decades later, offer historians invaluable insights into the operational complexity and personal experiences of those who relied on the tunnels. In Germany, tunnels beneath military bases were sometimes designed with multiple exits, providing escape options in case of sudden detection. One such network included branching corridors that allowed soldiers to emerge in forests, abandoned barns, or even along riverbanks. The design was intended to confuse pursuers. False passages led nowhere, and looped corridors ensured that anyone unfamiliar with the layout would become disoriented. The strategic brilliance of these designs illustrates both technical skill and an acute understanding of human behavior. Living underground imposed severe physical challenges. Darkness, humidity, and limited space forced soldiers into uncomfortable positions for hours at a time. Air quality was often poor, and in some tunnels, water seeped continuously from walls or ceilings. Despite these harsh conditions, the tunnels provided a unique sense of control. Within the underground labyrinth, soldiers dictated their movements, coordinated their actions, and maintained agency over situations that above ground might have seemed uncontrollable. Escape attempts were sometimes aided by improvised tools. Soldiers fashioned lanterns from scrap metal or glass, created rudimentary ventilation aids from piping or wood, and even used small planks or boards to reinforce weak tunnel sections. Resourcefulness was a necessity. In the absence of conventional engineering tools, survival depended on creativity and adaptability. Each tunnel reflected not only physical labor but also the ingenuity required to transform earth and wood into a functional, life-preserving system. Civilian encounters with tunnels occasionally produced tension or unforeseen complications. Farmers might unknowingly use tunnel entrances for storage, or curious villagers could stumble upon a hidden shaft. In most cases, discretion and fear of retribution kept civilians silent, preserving the tunnel's secrecy. In rare instances, locals assisted soldiers, providing cover, materials, or guidance, though these acts of cooperation carried immense personal risk. Psychological endurance was equally crucial. Soldiers navigated narrow corridors with only faint lighting, listening for the slightest sound that could betray their location. Hours passed in darkness, punctuated by the distant echo of dripping water or shifting soil. The mind had to remain focused, the body alert, and trust in comrades absolute. Panic, even momentary, could be disastrous. Yet for many, the experience also instilled a heightened sense of discipline and teamwork, reinforcing bonds forged under extraordinary pressure. Some tunnels were constructed with dual purposes in mind. In addition to serving as escape routes, they functioned as covert communication channels, storage spaces, and temporary living quarters. In one Belgian network, small alcoves provided space for soldiers to rest, change clothes, or hold brief strategic meetings. Though cramped and uncomfortable, these areas allowed for critical planning and decision-making without exposure to enemy surveillance. The multifunctional nature of tunnels underscores the strategic foresight and adaptability of their builders. Not all escape attempts were successful. Collapses, flooding, or misjudged turns sometimes trapped soldiers underground. In these situations, survival depended on calm thinking, resourcefulness, and teamwork. Stories of men digging themselves out, rationing minimal supplies, or signaling for help illustrate the resilience required to navigate these hazardous environments. Each ordeal became both a practical lesson and a testament to human perseverance in the face of adversity. The tunnel's enduring legacy is as much psychological as physical. They represent a hidden world where survival, ingenuity, and strategy converged beneath the surface of a war-torn continent. For those who used them, the experience offered a rare sense of agency and safety amid chaos. For historians and storytellers, the tunnels provide insight into the ingenuity, courage, and resilience that often remains invisible in conventional accounts of conflict. Even decades after the war, these tunnels continue to captivate imaginations. Archaeologists uncover hidden passages, remnants of ventilation shafts, and artifacts left behind by soldiers. Each discovery reveals layers of planning, adaptation, and human determination, highlighting the extraordinary lengths to which people will go to protect life, execute strategy, and maintain hope in the most extreme circumstances. Ultimately, the tunnels are a testament to human resourcefulness. They demonstrate how creativity, discipline, and courage can transform the most hostile environments into spaces of survival and strategic advantage. The stories of daring escapes, intricate construction, and psychological endurance embedded within these passages ensure that, even decades later, they remain a powerful symbol of resilience and ingenuity in the face of adversity. With the war's end, many tunnels were abandoned, sealed, or collapsed, leaving only faint traces beneath European villages, forests, and farmland. For decades, their existence remained largely a whispered secret, mentioned only in memoirs or fragmentary accounts. Yet the tunnel's stories persisted, waiting for rediscovery by historians, archaeologists, and amateur explorers who sought to uncover the ingenuity and human resilience buried beneath layers of soil and history. Rediscovery often began with subtle clues: slight depressions in fields, unusual vegetation growth, or oddly aligned floorboards hinted at hidden shafts. Villagers occasionally recalled seeing piles of soil mysteriously moved or faint noises beneath their homes during wartime. These small observations, combined with archival research and wartime records, enabled researchers to pinpoint potential tunnel locations. Each successful excavation revealed remarkable craftsmanship and strategic foresight, confirming accounts of soldiers' subterranean ingenuity. Archaeologists found tunnels reinforced with timber and metal, carefully ventilated, and ingeniously disguised. Some networks extended hundreds of meters, branching into complex mazes with multiple exits and storage chambers. Water drainage systems, previously unnoticed, demonstrated an advanced understanding of engineering principles under challenging conditions. The artifacts left behind, tools, rations, personal items, and even letters, provided a vivid glimpse into the daily realities of soldiers who spent long hours underground, balancing secrecy with survival. One particularly notable discovery occurred beneath a Belgian village where a tunnel network had been used to transport intelligence and supplies during critical phases of the war. Excavation revealed narrow corridors, reinforced chambers, and hidden exits leading into forests and abandoned buildings. Archaeologists found evidence of ventilation shafts cleverly disguised as wells and storage areas where soldiers had kept rations and essential tools. The attention to detail highlighted the combination of engineering skill, tactical planning, and human ingenuity that made these tunnels effective and enduring. Historians have emphasized the tunnel's strategic importance. Beyond providing safe passage and escape, they facilitated communication, supply transport, and covert operations. In some cases, soldiers used the passages to relocate entire units or move critical documents and equipment without detection. The tunnels effectively extended the operational reach of forces, providing a concealed environment where planning, preparation, and tactical coordination could occur away from enemy observation. The human stories embedded within the tunnels remain equally compelling. Soldiers left behind small, personal items, letters, photographs, and mementos that humanized the cold, calculated environment of subterranean warfare. These objects served as psychological anchors, offering comfort, a reminder of life beyond the war, and a sense of identity in conditions that otherwise demanded total focus and discipline. The tunnels, therefore, were not only functional but deeply personal spaces, where survival and human resilience converged. Some tunnels have been preserved and turned into historical sites, providing visitors with a tangible connection to wartime ingenuity. Walking through these passages, one can feel the confined darkness, the weight of soil overhead, and the sense of isolation that soldiers experienced. The narrow corridors, reinforced walls, and hidden exits demonstrate the precision and forethought that went into their construction. These sites allow people to appreciate both the engineering feats and the extraordinary courage of those who relied on them. The legacy of the tunnels extends beyond physical artifacts. They offer insights into human adaptability under extreme stress, the creative application of engineering principles, and the social dynamics of small, high-stakes teams. Soldiers operating underground had to trust one another completely, coordinate movements meticulously, and maintain calm in situations where a single error could be fatal. These lessons resonate across disciplines, from military strategy to psychology, highlighting the enduring relevance of wartime innovation. Post-war investigations also revealed the psychological impact of tunnel use. Soldiers who navigated the labyrinths reported a sense of control and empowerment absent above ground. Within the confined corridors, fear was managed, decisions were deliberate, and survival depended on skill, coordination, and trust. The tunnels provided a rare environment where human ingenuity could flourish in response to extreme adversity, leaving a lasting impression on those who emerged from them. In addition to military and psychological significance, the tunnels have contributed to historical scholarship. Researchers have reconstructed maps, documented construction techniques, and analyzed artifacts to better understand the logistics, engineering, and human experience of subterranean warfare. These studies illuminate the interplay between strategy, environment, and human behavior, offering a more nuanced understanding of how soldiers navigated the challenges of war beyond conventional battlefields. Interestingly, the tunnel's rediscovery has sparked public fascination. Documentaries, books, and exhibitions have brought their stories to wider audiences, emphasizing the combination of technical ingenuity and human courage that made them possible. Viewers are captivated not only by the tunnel's construction and strategic use, but also by the personal narratives of soldiers who endured darkness, isolation, and danger while maintaining hope and purpose. Modern technology has further enhanced our understanding of these networks. Ground-penetrating radar, 3D mapping, and archival research have allowed historians to reconstruct tunnels that were previously inaccessible or collapsed. Digital reconstructions reveal the intricacy of layouts, ventilation systems, and hidden exits, demonstrating the sophistication of designs created decades earlier with rudimentary tools and under extreme conditions. These reconstructions offer an immersive glimpse into the experiences of soldiers, deepening our appreciation for their ingenuity and resilience. The tunnels also provide lessons in adaptability and resourcefulness. Soldiers repurposed materials from the environment, timber from abandoned structures, metal scraps, and even soil, to reinforce walls, construct ventilation shafts, and manage drainage. The combination of improvisation and strategic foresight exemplifies how necessity drives innovation, particularly under life-threatening circumstances. These lessons extend beyond military history, offering insights into problem-solving, engineering, and human endurance. Despite the passage of time, the tunnels continue to captivate historians, archaeologists, and the public alike. Each discovery reinforces the narratives of human ingenuity, courage, and survival under extreme conditions. They remind us that history often unfolds not only in grand battles but also in hidden spaces, where individuals and small teams navigate peril, exercise creativity, and persevere against daunting odds. Ultimately, the secret tunnels of World War II serve as enduring symbols of human resilience. They demonstrate how ingenuity, discipline, and collaboration can transform ordinary materials and landscapes into life-saving networks. The stories embedded within their walls of daring escapes, meticulous construction, and psychological endurance offer a profound window into the human experience during wartime, highlighting both the vulnerabilities and strengths that emerge when survival hangs in the balance. These tunnels, once hidden and forgotten, now stand as monuments to the extraordinary lengths to which individuals will go to protect life, maintain strategy, and exercise agency in chaotic circumstances. Their rediscovery continues to inspire curiosity, reflection, and admiration for the resourcefulness, courage, and determination of those who navigated the unseen world beneath Europe's battlefields. As the decades passed, the secret tunnels constructed by Nazi soldiers during World War II transitioned from functional military assets to silent witnesses of human ingenuity and resilience. Abandoned, sealed, or collapsed, they lingered beneath fields, forests, and villages, quietly preserving the stories of those who built and navigated them. Rediscovery of these tunnels brought not only tangible artifacts but also insights into the mindset, resourcefulness, and endurance of soldiers in extreme circumstances. Historians examining these tunnels emphasize their dual significance, both practical and symbolic. On the practical side, the tunnels offered concealed movement, storage, and escape routes, providing strategic advantages that could mean the difference between life and death. On a symbolic level, they represent the human drive to adapt, innovate, and persevere when conventional options are exhausted. Each passage, alcove, and hidden exit tells a story of ingenuity, courage, and the quiet determination to survive in a world dictated by chaos and conflict. The process of rediscovering these tunnels has often been painstaking. Archaeologists and historians use archival documents, oral histories, and technological tools like ground-penetrating radar to locate and map hidden networks. Excavations reveal reinforced walls, concealed ventilation shafts, and storage chambers that once held rations, tools, and personal belongings. Each find deepens our understanding of how ordinary materials, wood, soil, metal, were transformed into functional, life-preserving structures under extreme conditions. Beyond physical artifacts, these tunnels illuminate the psychological dimensions of wartime survival. Soldiers moving through narrow, dark, and often damp corridors relied on discipline, trust, and acute awareness to navigate successfully. Silence was essential, cooperation indispensable, and focus paramount. Within the constrained environment of the tunnels, soldiers exercised control over their immediate circumstances, creating a sense of agency and resilience that was often absent above ground. The tunnels also demonstrate a remarkable level of engineering creativity. Builders adapted to the challenges of geography and soil composition, designing ventilation shafts, drainage systems, and reinforced walls with limited tools. In sandy soil, extensive timber support was used. In rocky terrain, meticulous chiseling ensured stability. Water infiltration was managed through cleverly designed channels and sump pits. Even minor errors could result in collapse or exposure, yet the tunnels were largely successful in providing secure passage and operational flexibility. Many tunnels were multifunctional, serving as escape routes, storage areas, communication corridors, and temporary living spaces. Soldiers could rest in small alcoves, store essential supplies, or hold strategic discussions away from prying eyes. These spaces, although uncomfortable and confined, became microcosms of planning, adaptation, and survival. The tunnels offered not only physical safety but also psychological reassurance, fostering camaraderie and reinforcing morale under extreme stress. Human stories embedded within these tunnels continue to captivate researchers and the public alike. Letters, photographs, and personal artifacts recovered from excavations humanize the environment, reminding us that these were not merely military constructs but spaces inhabited by individuals with fears, hopes, and attachments. Soldiers preserved small fragments of normal life amidst the darkness, creating private sanctuaries where memory and identity could endure alongside survival. Modern explorations and digital reconstructions of the tunnels provide a rare window into this hidden world. Ground-penetrating radar, 3D mapping, and archival research have allowed historians to recreate layouts, ventilation systems, and exit points. These reconstructions highlight both the technical sophistication of the tunnels and the ingenuity required to construct them under wartime constraints. They also enable a visceral understanding of the challenges faced by soldiers, from claustrophobia to physical exhaustion, offering immersive insights into their daily struggles and triumphs. The tunnel's rediscovery also emphasizes the importance of adaptation and problem-solving under pressure. Soldiers repurposed available materials, timber, metal scraps, soil, to create secure and functional spaces. They balanced structural integrity, airflow, and concealment, often improvising solutions to unforeseen challenges. This combination of foresight, adaptability, and ingenuity exemplifies how human creativity can prevail even in the most constrained and dangerous circumstances. Public interest in these tunnels has grown over time, with documentaries, books, and museum exhibitions bringing their stories to a wider audience. Visitors can walk through preserved passages, feeling the confined space, the darkness, and the physical demands that soldiers endured. These experiences foster appreciation not only for the engineering achievements but also for the human courage and perseverance that made such feats possible. The tunnels remind us that the unseen, shadowed aspects of history can be as revealing and instructive as the battles fought in open terrain. Moreover, the tunnel's legacy extends to broader lessons in resilience and strategy. They illustrate how preparation, ingenuity, and teamwork can mitigate extreme risk. Soldiers depended on memory, coordination, and trust to navigate the labyrinthine passages successfully. Each successful passage, each avoided detection, reinforced confidence and morale, highlighting the interplay between psychological fortitude and physical preparedness. The tunnels thus offer enduring insights into human behavior under pressure, applicable across disciplines beyond military history. The stories emerging from these tunnels also shed light on the often overlooked realities of war. While battles and campaigns dominate historical narratives, the tunnels reveal the subtler, strategic, and deeply human aspects of conflict. They tell of innovation in adversity, courage in isolation, and the resourcefulness required to navigate complex, high-stakes environments. In doing so, they expand our understanding of the wartime experience, emphasizing both the ingenuity and vulnerability inherent in human survival. Artifacts recovered from tunnels, tools, rations, letters, and personal items offer tangible connections to these narratives. Each object tells a story, whether of daily sustenance, clever improvisation, or the persistence of personal identity in extreme conditions. Together, they paint a comprehensive picture of life underground, highlighting the interplay between human creativity, endurance, and strategic necessity. The tunnels also prompt reflection on the broader implications of secrecy and hidden knowledge in wartime. While visible strategies and battles dominate historical memory, the underground labyrinths remind us that much of human ingenuity operates unseen. These networks exemplify the careful planning, silent labor, and calculated risk-taking that are often invisible in conventional accounts of conflict, yet profoundly shape outcomes and experiences. As we look back on these hidden corridors, their significance endures. They stand as monuments to resilience, innovation, and the indomitable human spirit. Soldiers who navigated darkness, humidity, and danger transformed simple materials into functional, life-saving infrastructure. They demonstrated remarkable foresight, courage, and adaptability, leaving a legacy that continues to inform, inspire, and captivate. Ultimately, the tunnels beneath Europe's battlefields represent more than physical passageways. They are symbols of ingenuity and survival. They reveal how individuals and small groups can exert control, maintain hope, and exercise creativity under extreme adversity. Each corridor, alcove, and hidden exit preserves a story of human perseverance, offering lessons that extend beyond history into the realms of psychology, engineering, and the understanding of resilience itself. By revisiting these tunnels today, we are reminded that history is not only written in grand campaigns and decisive battles, but also in hidden spaces where human skill, courage, and determination quietly shape outcomes. The legacy of these tunnels endures, inviting reflection, research, and admiration for those who carved out survival and strategy in the shadowed earth beneath war-torn landscapes. The secret tunnels, once a lifeline for soldiers, now serve as a testament to the extraordinary lengths humans will go to preserve life, maintain agency, and navigate uncertainty. Their discovery enriches our understanding of history, highlighting the ingenuity, courage, and endurance that emerge when survival is paramount. As silent witnesses to resilience and innovation, the tunnels continue to inspire and educate, preserving the stories of those who operated in darkness but left an enduring mark on history.